sort of tiptoeing between Gingerbread Man from Shrek and
that's kind of what I was thinking.
Toad.
A little bit.
Toad.
You have to kind of wreck your voice to do Toad, though.
I know. Hello.
Goodness.
You gotta destroy the microphone. Rip headphone users.
This must be the work of an enemy headphone user.
There was something we were talking about yesterday where, like, why didn't we save this for the podcast? What was it?
I don't know. Something weird.
Something weird.
It's the sort of thing that just comes up in conversation, and you say it in the moment because it's funny, and you're having a good time with the bros.
Having a good time.
Having a good time.
I'm a superstar.
Yeah.
I don't know the words to that song.
Make a supersonic man out of you.
Don't stop me now.
That sequence in Shaun of the Dead where they're just like beating on the guy with pool cues.
And it's all in sync to the music.
And like the people on the side are just kind of like snapping along.
Why is Queen playing on the radio?
I don't know. Turn it off. I was watching a Sean Penn interview, and or no, it wasn't Sean Penn. It was Simon Pegg, and he was talking about how they choreographed and worked on that scene for, I think it was like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And the stunt guy who was the zombie getting beaten up had taken a punch from John Wayne. So
very cool.
He'd been around the movies, as it were.
Imagine being a stuntman and you have souvenirs from every major celebrity you've been in a movie with.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this
in the form of broken bones.
You feel that metal plate there? Yeah, that was Tom Cruise.
Lacerations? Yeah. There was that would be our friend Andrew.
If he was a stuntman.
Yeah.
I think that would be inadvisable given his track record.
He'd probably die
several times over.
Like not even doing dangerous stuff, just like on a crash pad or something.
Hopping off a car and get run over.
Stepping out of a car just normally. Walking downstairs. Yeah. Quite the Chinaman in that he's made of China.
Right.
That's
fragile like glass.
Yes.
Not. Speaking of which, that's a good movie. I've heard that's a good movie. But I haven't.
I think it says fragile, honey. There aren't a whole lot of lines I remember from The Christmas Story, but that's one of them. It's like, I think that says fragile, honey. Oh yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Whiskey. Everybody sip the whiskey.
Got some Canadian club here this week.
Indeed.
Uh-huh.
You got the microphone close enough to your mouth, mate.
It's not going any closer, mate. See what happens when I do this?
Oh, yeah,
it just stays down there.
Oh, yeah,
I've got to lean all the way back and shove it right up in my face, mate. And there's only so far it's going to go.
That's right, because the bolt is stripped out.
Stripped out, mate.
It is very limp.
Yes, you're right.
So,
you're quite right. I'm fed up with being treated like a sheep, carted round in buses surrounded by sweaty, mindless oafs from Kettering and Boventry with their cloth caps and their cardigans and their transistor radios and their Sunday mirrors complaining about the tea. Oh, they don't make it properly here, do they? Not like at home. Stopping at Majorcan and Bodegas selling fish and chips in Watney's Red Barrel and calamaris and two veg, sitting in their cotton sun frocks, squirting Timothy White sun cream all over their puffy, raw, swollen, purulent flesh because they overdid it on the first day.
What was the name of that sketch?
The Travel Agent.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I love it how, towards the end, eventually, the other guy is talking to
Will you shut up?
Just going insane. I feel like there's several of their skits that
I'm calling the police.
Where like somebody's just being outrageous and the other one just like absolutely loses it because they've had enough. I feel like I can recall like a good 2-3 sketches.
That sounds like Monty Python.
Common Monty Python thing.
There's the travel agent, and then there's the bookshop, and what's another one? I think there was
the cheese shop.
The cheese shop is similar, yeah.
Basically, you go to any place of business.
The parrot one, I think.
Yep.
This is an ex-parrot.
If you hadn't nailed him to the perch, he'd be pushing up the daisies.
It has expired and gone to meet its maker.
It's
Good
shuffled
stuff.
off this mortal coil.
Good stuff.
I have not seen nearly enough Monty Python. I should really get on that.
It's not hard to find.
No, it isn't. I just got to think about it at a time I'm free to just watch several skits.
Mm-hmm. Time is not hard to come by these days.
No, not really. Particularly being out of class and having 2 part-time jobs and no internship because of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but we still have time. Well, yeah. I mean, not a matter of time, but we're keeping this up because we'd go insane if we didn't have something to do.
Well, some of us have plenty of things.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Riley's.
Some of us still work full time.
Yeah. He's just slaving away over here. Meanwhile, you
Slaving away in my room.
hooligans are lollygagging about the place.
Honestly, the hardest thing about working from home is walking by James playing Minecraft in the middle of the day. Just be like, God, I wish I was playing Minecraft
I just want to play Minecraft. Go away, Mom! I'm playing Minecraft.
Get out of my room! I'm playing Minecraft.
There's a situation that arose that forced me to log out of the game before I lost a considerable amount of valuable goods. And that was 2 days ago. So that is, I've stayed off of our Minecraft server just waiting for somebody else to have time to like come by and rescue my character. But it's going to take forever. So that's forced me to pursue other things like looking for jobs. Not that I wasn't before.
Wow.
But I was like, okay, fine. I'll get back on the horse with that. It's quite aggravating.
It's hard to get on a horse if nobody gets back to you.
Yeah. You have to find
now
a horse.
People are actually getting back to you. So
yeah, all at once too. Like 3 or 4 different things. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Now you care. But
No, SpongeBob. No. Oh, okay.
hello. I'm normal.
Wonderful weather we're having.
Oh. I don't know. I feel like even though watching SpongeBob growing up, it was something my mom like disliked having on because she found it annoying. And I can kind of see that. But like we still watched it here and there enough where I feel like I'd watched like a majority of like the classic older episodes. So there's a lot of different things like that. And then I think my older sister had some on DVD or she would watch it or something like that. But yeah, Spinge Bill. Now it's like all the rage, like all the nostalgia people.
Because everyone that grew up with it is old and
remember the early 2000s. Those are the days.
Is retro.
Watching Nickelodeon.
There just aren't good cartoons anymore.
Hardly, no.
Yeah,
They're few
We're
and far
starting
between.
to get to the age where the kids that watched Gumball and crap growing up are starting to make memes about it, and I'm like,
How?
I don't recognize any of this.
What is this devil? From what I've seen, Gumball's a decent cartoon. There's some wackiness that ensues, but I've never watched an entire episode. But
I remember when Chowder first came on Cartoon Network, and everyone I knew loved it, and I couldn't stand it. Like I just hated it. Every cartoon around that era, I just couldn't do. Like, what else was there? Flapjack. I couldn't stand that show either.
Yeah.
Like basically after the Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends went off the air, There was nothing else.
There wasn't a whole lot of Nickelodeon
Well, this is
that
Cartoon
was worth
Network.
watching. Oh, Cartoon Network, yeah. That I didn't really particularly care for like Dexter's Laboratory or any of those.
I
types.
love
Dexter's Lab is fun.
dude. Dexter's Lab is a great show. The first season, especially. After that, it gets kind of its life sucked out of it by the corporate
Mhm.
cartoon producing machine, as every cartoon inevitably does.
Wasn't the creator of Dexter's Laboratory also behind like
Powerpuff Girls.
that and then like the Transylvania movies?
Oh yeah, I
think.
think that might have been him. The Hotel Transylvania guy.
Yeah, those Transylvania movies.
The first one was fun. I saw the second one. It was really dumb. Didn't see the third one. Don't care to.
Yeah. It's Adam Sandler, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I think most of the humor is very visual. I like how they animate Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he's walking around, he's always like perfectly perpendicular to whatever surface he's walking on.
Mhm.
So he's like walking on the roof, and it's like just kind of he's just sticking up out of the side of the roof, and it's kind of funny.
But his torso is like, but then
he's
his,
like at a 45-degree angle walking along it.
Mhm. And like his legs kind of move around more, right?
Yeah, they're just animated really, really goofily, and it's really just kind of fun to watch.
Huh.
Movie overall is mediocre, but it's got some fun animation in it.
Sure. Fun animation.
Funimation.
There are some
It's a little bit different.
fun animations, you could say. in
Not
the
already.
game.
We are not doing this so
Wha-
soon.
What do you mean so soon? It's been 10 minutes.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has.
We
I'm
hasn't-
looking at
we
the
haven't been-
timer.
we haven't been recording for 10 minutes.
Yes, we have. I'm looking at the timer. Actually, it's been 11 minutes, 11 and a half minutes.
Well,
No.
depending
perfectly
on how much
reasonable.
you
No
edit, but
I'll edit out at most like maybe a minute or two of like the initial sound check. But yeah, no, it's been almost 12 minutes.
Really? It does
Yeah.
not feel like it's been that
Well,
long.
that's just because when we
that's
get
'cause
shooting the breeze.
time flies when you're shooting the breeze and having fun.
Yeah, the breeze is perfectly full of bullet holes at this point.
I'm gonna riddle that breeze so full of bullet holes.
You'll be able to see right through it on through Tuesday. Or I didn't, whatever. But
Couldn't you already?
we're the Palladian Papists. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Riley.
Today's topic is The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt
Yes. Yes, it is.
video game. Yes, so
A
Riley.
video game that 2 out of the 3 of us have played.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
by CD
So-
Projekt Red, which is a Polish
A Polish
studio.
studio, yes.
Mhm.
The author of the books that the Witcher games are based on is Polish.
Oh, that's
So
neat.
he kind of CD Projekt pre-existed him, obviously, but like it was cool that a
What
Pol-
other
a
games
Polish
have
studio-
they made besides the Witcher series?
They- Nothing super notable. The thing that they're doing now is Cyberpunk 2077
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
got a lot
Keanu
of
Reeves
hype around
game.
it.
with the Keanu Reeves
hmm
and apparently customizable genitals, but
Right, because that's
okay.
because that's the thing
necessary.
that is totally needed.
righty then.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so The Witcher as a domain, as an intellectual property, is kind of based off of Slavic Northeast European folklore in a very vague and general sense.
Sure.
So it's like there's a lot of it features heavily the mythical creatures from that sort of ethnic
Yeah,
area of
Mhm.
Europe.
and some of them might be kind of recognizable to us, like fairy tale type creatures, but they're monsters. Essentially, the premise of the whole world is that there's at one point there was like a conjunction of the spheres or whatever, which are these different worlds, and then monsters spilled into the world, like the main story world,
Which is called the continent.
the continent. Yeah.
Continent.
So original.
And the Witchers were these guilds of warriors essentially that are mutated and can do basic magic.
Yeah, they aren't like natural mutants. They undergo these like trials that prepare them for the it's like a forced mutation.
Like
that they
3
go
out
through.
of 10 boys who do it survive.
It's better rate than Eagle Scouts. That's not too
Okay.
Eagle Boy Scouts
bad.
are like Witchers.
Only 3 out of 100 boys survive the Eagle Scout ritual.
But yeah, the monsters they terrorize local villages and so forth. So they put out contracts for witchers to come through and get rid of the monsters with
They're
their silver
just
swords.
professional monster slayers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the witchers have a very specific code of ethics that
Mm-hmm.
they follow. Like, it's not religious or anything. It's
No.
like there's no
It's a
central-
professional code.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like they use only swords.
Mm-hmm.
They are not supposed to use ranged weapons. They give you the option to do so in The Witcher 3, which
It's
is
not particularly useful.
it.
There are
It kind of
situations the
is.
crossbow is useful, but
I, as a purist, choose not to use them.
yeah.
Anyway, they must do things for money. Like they can't take no pay for doing a job. They can't just like kill a monster as a favor for someone. They have to
Mhm.
accept some form of payment.
Because it would, devalue the industry, as it were, for their fellow witchers. So it kind of have fair competition amongst them, as it were.
Mm-hmm. You can accept payment in the form of the law of surprise,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially where you say the first thing you see when you get home is what you will give me as payment.
Which, isn't there a Bible story that's essentially like this one leader tells God he'll sacrifice the first thing he sees when he comes home after he wins a battle. He does that. His daughter comes out.
Yeah, that
sacrifices
sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be in Judges or something.
Yeah,
like that.
somewhere around there.
Like
Judges,
primordial
Kings, something.
Wild West Israel before the time of the kings. Some crazy crap went down during the Old Testament. But yeah, anyway.
So this law of surprise is how the main character of The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia, comes upon his adoptive daughter, Ciri.
Mm-hmm.
Cirilla is her full name.
Yeah. Spelt with a C, not
Yes,
like-
Ciri.
not like the phone.
Yes, not like the
Apple Assistant.
robot.
So she was a character in the TV show on Netflix. She's in the
Yes,
games
that is
too?
correct. Ciri is in many ways a more influential character than Geralt, but she's not as focused on. She's a child of the elder blood, so like
She screams.
she scream and things explode, and
It's kind of nuts,
she's very inordinately powerful.
but has difficulty controlling it.
Yes, as one might with such an absurd amount of power.
But one thing she does sort of have control over is teleporting here and there.
Well, by this point in time,
Yeah,
she's
at the time of The
gotten a
Witcher
hold
3.
that. Yeah.
The main
Is-
character being Geralt. I don't know if we.
Yes, Geralt
mentioned
is
that.
certainly the main character of every Witcher thing that has existed.
Mhm.
So a little bit of background to the start of The Witcher 3. They mostly revolve around the countries in the northern kingdoms
Mhm.
of Temeria and
Redania.
Redania. And so at the end of The Witcher 2, Temeria has just been taken over pretty much
by Nilfgaard.
by Nilfgaard, who are these kind of quasi-Nazi world domination seeking vaguely European people.
Uh-huh.
So they're out to conquer everything everywhere.
Mhm.
And the emperor of Nilfgaard is someone who also has a claim to Ciri.
Isn't he in the games? He's her father.
He is not. He's her adopted father, but because Ciri is very powerful and desired by every ruler in existence,
Uh-huh.
he basically goes and kidnaps her at one point.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's kind of his claim
Okay.
there, because she's an asset, not because he actually cares about her.
She's mine. I rightfully stole her.
Yes, I think in the games her father is still what's his face, the Porcupine Knight.
Oh.
Sonic.
Yes.
Sonic and the Black Knight.
Basically
Except
Sonic.
he's
From Nintendo
And
Wii.
Shadow Sonic. I thought when I recently played through it, and I thought,
he refers to himself as her father.
okay.
So it's kind of his way of trying to establish his right to her, but I don't think that the games recognize him as her biological father.
Well, because it said like in the little character thing that I was messing around and looking through, that he, in the shipwreck where Ciri's parents died, he faked his death, took over Nilfgaard, and then claimed her as his daughter. I'd have to... Anyway, it's not really an important point, so I guess we can move on.
So the game starts with that in mind, and Geralt is searching for his lost friend / lover, Yennefer of Vengerberg.
Who's a sorceress.
Who is a sorceress.
Very powerful one at that.
Yes. And they are inextricably bound by destiny because Geralt made a bad wish to a genie that they would never be separated.
Mm-hmm.
So they're sort of just stuck together regardless of whether they want to be or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they are more or less fond of each other, so that works out okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're looking for her, and they do some Witcher things. And
Him
they
and
fight
his
a griffin.
mentor, Vesemir,
Yes.
who's an older Witcher.
He's a very old and wise Witcher. Vesemir has big dad energy.
Oh, yeah.
He's a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
You like Vesemir. But he
While it lasts.
they
All
fight
those
a
of you who
griffin
played.
together as part of saving the town that Yennefer happens to be near.
Yep.
And then they meet up with her, and she's like, "You gotta go to Nilfgaard."
It's like, okay.
I'd rather not, because they were probably gonna kill me, but I suppose I don't really have a choice about it. So they go to Nilfgaard, and they talk to the Emperor, and he's like, "Give me Ciri." And I'm like,
She's missing. We don't know where she is.
"Except we're not Christian Bale Batman."
No. He
I-
talks more like this.
I can't do the Geralt voice. It's too gravelly and
Yeah.
low, and my voice.
Siri. Yeah,
Siri.
he's got low gravelly tough guy
It's
voice.
a little bit more like, not quite as in the throat as Christian Bale's Batman.
He's got a little more voice. More like a raspy Batman. He's not really whispering. It's just more like he's talking at the very bottom of his throat.
He's like whispering very loudly.
How do you like that silver?
How long are you gonna make me wait?
It's one of the thing about monsters in the game is that silver is apparently their kryptonite, as it were.
Well, silver is deadly to them. It's
Yeah.
not like you touch it and they die.
Right,
but-
but they make weapons and such out of silver for fighting monsters. Anyway,
Use.
so yeah, the Emperor is like, go find Ciri and bring her to me. So
He's
Geralt,
like, well, I was planning on finding her anyway, but I'm sure as heck not bringing her to you.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So they set off on their quest to find Ciri.
they find people who have seen her. There's like multiple leads they have to track down and kind of piece together where she's been, because she's on the run from these crazy people.
Crazy elves called the Wild Hunt. They
Mhm.
wear these big black suits of armor and are
Mhm.
very scary looking and difficult to fight. Except if you're James and play on easy mode.
Well,
Oh, he played that one on easy mode.
even
too?
on easy mode, the game took literally 50 hours for me to beat it.
It took me 50 hours to beat too, but I played it on Blood and Broken Bones.
Yeah. You still, I mean, with this is aside, but with the level up stuff, you still have to sort of struggle through it, because if you fight somebody who's higher level than you, it's going to be more difficult. So I ran into that a lot, but
Yeah. So
Anyway.
they go talk to various people who've seen Ciri. They have some interactions with some characters, and the Bloody Baron is kind of
it's one of the side quests. That's
Yeah.
part of the main story.
it's kind of weird. It's sort of a side quest, but it's sort of not.
Uh-huh.
And it's like
Hmm.
I think it's
It's like the first major arc you come across as you play through the game.
So I think it's one of the cooler quests in terms of like its narrative and the consequences that they
Yeah.
establish. So
At the end of it, you're forced to choose between like saving the Baron's wife or these kids from these crazy bloodthirsty witch ladies,
Hmm.
and you can't choose both.
yeah, that's one of the coolest things about the game is the decision making that they force you to do. But more about
There's several key points.
more
yeah.
about that later.
Yeah.
From there, what does happen next? after they've followed up on all the leads.
And
And
he goes to what's the name of the big city?
Novigrad.
And meets up with Triss Marigold, who's another
Sorceress. And typical Witcher stuff. There's some bandits and some fanatics that they have to deal with in Novigrad. And
there's sort of this cult that's very anti like non-humans and sorceresses and stuff.
yes, the Church of the Eternal Fire is what
Yeah.
they're called.
Mhm.
They're the typical video game religion bad fanatics.
Yeah.
So they have to deal with them.
And the witch hunters and all that.
Yep.
I guess there's a side quest where you can help Triss get all these sorcerers and people in hiding, help them escape the city, that sort of thing before they're tracked down. But there's several major side quests you can do
Yeah.
in that part.
It's a very
But
large.
You
open
go
area.
there and then you have to help people to kind of get information about where Ciri's been.
Mhm.
So you go there and then there's this sort of Viking island of Skellige.
Yes.
That's probably my
the,
favorite
The
area.
Scottish Vikings from
Yeah.
Skellige.
Probably my favorite.
Hmm.
One of my favorite parts of the game was the Skellige bits. But you sort of are following her trail and like talk to people who met up with her, and then finally you go to this. Well, you find this weird creature that they have to do all sorts of
Magical surgery.
magical surgery on.
Because
Right.
they're like, I think this is a person stuck in the form of this weird creature thing.
And so they do the ceremony and manage to free the guy from the curse or whatever. They find out it's this elf dude,
His name is Avalach.
Avalach. And-
Avallac apostrophe H.
Yeah.
Apostrophe H.
Avalach.
Because that was very
Yeah.
necessary to have an apostrophe.
Look, it's linguistic. Yeah. Anyway,
And so Avalach is like, yes, the wild hunt is after Ciri.
it's like,
Yada,
yes,
yada.
we know. But he was sort of mentoring her and helping her.
Control her elder blood child powers.
Yeah. And kind of keep her hidden from the wild hunt. But, and so they find out she's hidden on this island that nobody knows about. So he sends Geralt there, who finds her and brings her back. And the wild hunt can track her down because they can sense her powers.
I can smell you.
And so there's this big fight where Geralt goes around the countryside finding all of his friends.
Hey, friends, come fight. Hey, friends,
Come fight. The funny thing is about that though is that like you get all these people and then for some reason the game only shows like some of them fighting with you and through most of it. It's just kind of weird, but it's just a game design thing. But yeah, so they fight off the wild hunt and then they realize, okay, we're gonna have to take the fight to them or else Ciri's gonna be running for the rest of her life from these folks. And because of her
Folks.
from what
These
Oh
fine
yeah,
folks.
you know, just the
we gotta run
neighbors
from
over
these
there.
weird elvish creatures. I tell you what, they're just gonna keep tracking that Ciri girl down until she's, either submits to their bidding or kills the
The hosers.
Oh yeah, those
Oh, yeah.
hooligans are up to no good. I tell you what.
Oh, sorry, I can't control my elder blood powers.
But yeah, so they have to take the fight to the wild hunt. So yeah,
They proceed to beat up the wild hunt. That is what happens.
they beat up the what?
The wild hunt.
Oh yeah,
They beat them
there's
up.
this big final showdown.
That
And,
was honestly the most underwhelming boss
Yeah.
fight ever.
yeah, you just
Uh,
kind of dodge and whack, dodge and whack, dodge and whack.
I mean,
You have
dodging
just
and
described
whacking
the
is
game.
Yeah,
Except
Dodge
it's
and whack.
usually you get
more
punished
interesting
severely.
dodging and
2
whacking.
hours of dialogue, dodge and whack, dodge and whack, dodge and whack. Ride Roach, dodge and whack.
Roach. Who is a horse.
Yeah, Roach.
Roach is Geralt's trusty steed.
No matter which horse it is, he always names it Roach so he doesn't get attached. Yet he'll talk to his horse and kind of treats it like a friend because he spends a lot of time with it. It's kind of fun. But yeah, that's essentially the story of The Witcher 3. There's a whole lot of other stuff. There's DLC. It's quite the hefty game.
Mm.
But those are the those are the main. That's like the main story,
Mm-hmm.
which takes a long time to get through.
It is paced a little bit better than we've just explained
Yeah.
it here, but
Right.
it's sort of the nature of it. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's cool about it.
Okay.
Personally, the aspect that I mentioned earlier that I find the most interesting about The Witcher 3 is the decision-making process that it puts you through.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, well, not necessarily like no-win decisions, but like difficult moral quandaries that you have that you're faced with.
At this point, I think in Geralt's character development in the game, he's kind of realized, and this was sort of touched on in the TV show, which was all right, but off topic. But he was trying to, Witchers are supposed to be neutral, right? So he's like, I just won't choose, but turned out the choice was often made for him. So when he was faced with the difficult moral situations, and so the game kind of reminds you of that. It's like, okay, well, you have to make a choice here. Save this person, let this person die, or so you can't just not choose because
to be a total neutral is to be like totally disengaged from the outcome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You do have a responsibility to make a choice and then live with the consequences, which there are a number of occasions where the game, you make a choice and like it will change the state of the game for like the remainder of it. It's like a character will either be there or not be there anymore, and that will have repercussions.
If you choose the mean dialogue option, it actually affects what goes on in the game.
There's one character in particular that you can choose, like whether she lives or dies depends on what you choose in dialogue.
Oh,
You're thinking of Kira?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tricky to figure out too, because she's kind of this, sorceress who's kind of up to no good, and Geralt doesn't trust her, and he's trying to.
He's trying to like help her out with something while also keeping on his toes about what she's really planning.
Because she's been kind of using him for her to get things she wants to achieve her own ends, and so you essentially I think the outcomes are you either get her to come with you back to Kaer Morhen to fight off the Wild Hunt, or she runs off to the city full of the crazy anti-witch people and dies, or she gets very angry at you and
you have to kill her.
You have to kill her. I forget what happened when I was playing it, but I had to play through it twice. I was like, okay, so I won't do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of reloading.
Yeah. It's like, no, I didn't want to kill her. I was just mad that she tricked me.
Yeah, she was kind of like messing with some forbidden magic that shouldn't be messed with.
Yeah.
It was kind of the gist.
It was about a plague, which, yeah. There's like this, she had stumbled across like this laboratory of this guy who was like a epidemiologist, magician or something.
I promise this isn't topical.
No. And he was like, yeah, you better leave that stuff alone. You don't know what sort of crazy stuff the guy was up to. But at any rate.
Yeah. And there were definite points where I was like, I'm sitting there looking at some dialogue options and I'm like, I guarantee something in here is gonna change something significant. So it makes you sit down and think like, okay, what are the repercussions of making this person angry? What are the repercussions of capitulating to this person?
Yeah.
So it like makes you put some thought into what you do.
Yeah.
And not just pick the dialogue option that
just
fits
keep
your
going.
role play.
Yeah.
right.
You just keep going and going and going. Like, okay, dialogue, da 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 da. Like the dialogue is probably
The dialogue is kind of the game.
yeah.
It's a very story-driven experience. There's a lot of, like, there are some travel sequences where you ride from this town to the next town,
Yeah.
and that ride is filled with a conversation. Like the initial, when you're riding to, I forget, White Orchard, I believe is the name of the village.
I think you're right. Yeah.
With Vesemir, and you're like just having a chat about Witcher stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it serves to make something that would be a really dull travel sequence into something that's a interesting world building.
Horse riding tutorial
Yeah,
at the beginning of the game. Roach is a little janky here and there, but
I like it when games bury tutorials and like the actual game
with exposition.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of depends how much you like the game. Kind of depends on your taste, because like the majority of the time you spend in the game is in these dialogue sequences, I feel like, and the rest of the game is basically go to this place, dodge and whack. Is the rest of the
gameplay. That's a thing that's like a chief component of every RPG in existence.
Yeah,
go to this place, dodge and whack. But The Witcher takes that and makes it into a story-driven experience.
Even like the side quests and little Witcher contracts you can do have like these little miniature stories.
Yeah, it's like you're helping out some random villager here who has a problem with ghosts, and it serves as like a world-building thing.
Yeah,
because there's this obscure monster that you probably don't know about.
Yeah,
and the game has this thing called the Witcher senses, where you can kind of
because the Witchers have these powers where they have heightened senses of smell, hearing, and
all that jazz.
Yeah.
And so you like activate your Witcher senses to find clues about what's going on,
track a monster's scent and that sort of thing.
And if you're familiar enough with the Witcher universe, you start to pick up early on, like, oh, that's probably what this monster is based on these clues.
Yep.
But if you don't, it's something that serves to educate you about those.
Because Geralt kind of talks to himself about the clues as he goes through.
Bloody blood tracks, bloody blood herbs, bloody blah blah blah.
Smells like this strong scented thing. And then let's follow this red trail through the sky.
These tracks are too big to be what I think it is.
And then he eventually pieces together what the monster is based on.
And then, oh, look at that. There's the monster. Now we have to kill it.
And you gotta kill it.
Silver sword, dodge, roll, whack.
Yep.
Dodge, roll, whack.
And, yeah, and then there's leveling up and getting better weapons and armor and
standard
so forth.
RPG stuff.
Yeah.
Level up, get good items.
Alchemy, making potions, that sort of thing, which you're just constantly grabbing ingredients and throwing things away because you weigh too much. And yeah.
So there's nothing like really revolutionary about the systems. It's all just
the world building is really good and probably one of the top selling points of the game.
The world building is probably superlative among games.
What's fun is that, the peasants and villagers have like, this sort of backcountry English accent, but then like the accents are slightly different based on like what region you're in or like where they are in society. The peasants have sort of this
North England sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it weren't like that at all. It's type. That was horrible. It's been a little while since I played it. Not that long, but I'm having a hard time summoning it for some reason. But then you'll like talk to people. Skellige, the Vikings are all Scottish. And then the people in the big city of Novigrad are kind of like more of this kind of high society English sort of accent. And then the people from Nilfgaard are like sort of they're almost like Germanic sort of accents. Yeah. Almost Dutch sounding. I mean, it's like a completely made up language, but it's kind of a cool like background, like world building thing that they do. Like the people have different accents based on the region. It's kind of a cool touch.
I don't know if you got to Blood and Wine yet, but
not yet. No,
the Toussaint people are French.
Okay.
As the name Toussaint would imply.
Right. Yeah. I kind of figured that, and they're into wine and fine goods.
They're all
and
into wine. That's why the whole expansion is called Blood and Wine.
Yeah,
it's because those are the two chief components of the story.
Mm-hmm. I guess one of the other big decision-making aspects of the game is you can choose whether to romance Yennefer or Triss,
or literally any woman that walks.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he's...
But that's who you end up
Geralt thing.
Yeah, but I mean who you end up with as like you settle down with at the end of the game is determined by how you interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's another aspect of it. I don't know. I didn't particularly like Yeah, and at first, so I just chose like all of like the sassiest, like mean things to say, because it's kind of funny, and they still have like that banter and stuff like that. But, so yeah, that's a pretty good rundown of the game. Obviously, there's some
bad.
There's some bad in the
talk
game.
about the bad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
There's some prawn.
yeah. There's
The same kind of bad that was in the TV show.
The same kind of bad that was in the TV show.
and the books
Okay.
for that matter,
And the
from what
books,
I
yeah.
understand.
Yep.
It's just part of the Witcher mythos.
Yeah, he's
Well-
kind of a womanizer.
He is.
So
Not for kids.
no,
Don't let your kids play this.
and even if you're not a child and more sensitive to that sort of thing, I wouldn't recommend it. It's
It's not like in your face everywhere all the time. Like it's sort of avoidable,
yeah.
but
At the same time, well, and then you can skip through stuff
Yeah.
like if you hit spacebar on PC, I guess is why we were playing it. But it's skippable, but it's just kind of like, really, do I have to? But yeah, it's a thing. And then obviously it's very graphic, violent. It's but I guess if
but
chopping
it's-
people
it's
in half doesn't bug
mostly-
you,
Well, yeah. There's more people killing than you would think.
yeah,
Sure.
For someone who's a professional monster slayer.
yeah. Sometimes it just gets to you and heads roll, as it were, as they say in the game. There's especially like when you're in the city, like you'll walk around a corner and there's just bandits. Like, all right, I guess I'm fighting these guys now. But there's fun little Easter eggs here and there. I ran across like one of the like a bandit voice line is like, your mother was a hamster and your father smells of elderberries, is like taunting you. It's a nice little Monty Python reference. And I think I ran across like the carnivorous bunny or something like that
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in the countryside, and I fought it, and I was like, huh. I think there was a couple other things I recognized from other places, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But overall, pretty rich game world to explore.
And it really rewards you for exploring too, because
Mhm.
there's some powerful sets of gear that you can get, and
Treasure hunts.
treasure hunts to go find all of the recipes to make it. So
And there were times I accidentally like came across a monster, it attacked me, I killed it, and accidentally fulfilled a contract. So I checked into the city. I was like, oh, I already killed this thing. Nice. But there's and then sometimes too, if you like destroy a monster nest or eradicate some threat, then it will like liberate it and allow the villagers to like come back and re-inhabit the place. So so you kind of affect the game world that way too.
Neat.
Or there was like another side quest where all these people in the village found this treasure trove, and it was cursed, so they were all turned into pigs. And you have to like round up all these pigs and take them back to the place.
you like talk to the pigs, and it's like one oink for yes, two oinks for no. Like, wait, you can understand me?
And they come back with all their clothes for some reason, but it was kind of funny. And then the one guy who survived, they want to beat him up at the end of it, because he for some reason, I forget what it was, but they want to beat him up for like skipping out and not getting cursed. And he's like, I just didn't feel like going. It's like, I don't need money, I don't care. He's kind of this weird loopy character. It's just kind of, I found him kind of funny. But yeah, I guess what are some truths in the game?
It places a high importance on family.
Yeah.
It's certainly a thing between Geralt and Ciri, for sure, is the primary dynamic, because he cares about her a lot, despite being a kind of rough and tumble, tough love kind of parent.
No, I'm gonna take him now. Ciri, no. She's very gung-ho.
She's impetuous.
Yeah. And also between Geralt and his Witcher colleagues, they were kind of raised together, so they're like brothers. There's this one sequence where you're just drinking and telling stories and getting like super drunk. That was kind of a fun sequence. But and then Vesemir, the older Witcher, is this father figure to basically everybody.
Not
Like-
just the Witchers, but
Yeah.
pretty much anyone who is friends with the Witchers.
They call
anyone
him
who
Uncle
comes to-
Vesemir. That's what they call him.
Mhm.
And since this is a spoilerful podcast, partway through the game, when they fight the Wild Hunts, Vesemir sacrifices himself to save Ciri.
Oh,
Sorry, Nathan.
that's okay. It'll
Um,
probably be a while before I get around to playing it.
yeah. And Geralt is also kind of this leader too in the families that he is
Mhm.
a part of, as it were.
I guess you could say that. He's kind of
Well, I mean, you play as him, so obviously you
He's-
make a lot of
he's,
things happen. But
it's not like he's a super what's the word?
he's not fatherly, but he's
Right. But he's still a responsible sort of.
yeah, for the most part.
When it's not like he like goes out and seeks responsibility, but he finds it placed on his shoulders.
A lot, and he handles
and
it pretty
he
well.
handles it well. And
I mean,
accepts
depending
it.
on how you play it, but he's and often he'll go above and beyond to like save creatures, and he's not just a monster hunter. Sometimes he's like he likes to talk trolls out of like attacking people because he doesn't want to kill them, and that sort of carries through a lot. Like, this monster is kind of harmless, let's just leave him be. Or this person is cursed to be this monster, I'll try to set them free to get rid of the problem instead of just killing them, that sort of thing. So he sort of tries to be just in that regard. So I guess that's more of the goodness aspect of it.
Yeah, I would say in general he like places a fair emphasis on life too.
Yeah.
Like the right to it.
Yeah.
For example, the Bloody Baron sequence, there was like this basically his wife was carrying a baby, and
Mhm.
the baby, like, they miscarried or something like that,
Yeah.
and they didn't properly bury it, and so like they didn't regard it as a child, which
Mhm.
of course it was. And the fact that it's
they
coming
didn't
back,
give her a name.
yeah, they didn't give her a name. So they didn't acknowledge the child. And so that's why the child is coming back to like terrorize the village.
As sort of this monster creature. And
You have the option to either kill it or try to turn it into a lubberkin,
which is the sort of spirit creature.
spirit baby.
Yeah. But and also sort of let her go to rest,
Mm-hmm.
And so he helps the father sort of make amends with like the mistakes that they made in not giving her a name and a proper burial, sort of repent of that. It's pretty emotional sequence. Overall, yeah, the Bloody Baron arc is pretty heavy hitting.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably one of the best written parts of the game. Beauty. It's very well made game.
It's one of the highest budget games ever. It's not like top 10 or anything, but it's up there.
Yeah, and it's aged pretty decently, I'd say.
It was very it was made to look like Eastern Europe, kind of. It's
Kind of bleak and
it's not universally bleak either. There's a lot of spots that are kind of, they're very picturesque, sort of farmland that's, it's green, and there's crops and there's water, and it's not a universally dark and dreary place.
no,
but-
certain regions are, but not universally.
and Skellige is really beautiful as well.
Yeah, mountains and
Mountains and snow and fjords and
yeah.
islands and oceans and all that lovely stuff. So
But yeah, I guess those are like
the
main ones of
monsters
these.
look very good,
Yeah, they're very
detailed, and
believably done for monsters, at least. They have they're scary boys.
Mhm.
Doing a heckin' spook.
But it's sort of an interesting twist on like some of the mythical like monsters and creatures from different like European folklore and things we might be familiar with, or like at least as references. But yeah, music is pretty good, if a bit repetitive.
Yeah, that's another thing that's very Eastern European.
Yeah,
It's kind of lute heavy. There's lots of kind of
it's got a very medieval feel to
yeah,
it.
it's not like full orchestra for most of it. It's very simple string instrument.
Singing.
Yeah.
What else? There's a few things that annoyed me a little bit when I played it. Like the wind sound effects in the trees, I think were overdone. And there's sort of this ASMR tree cracking that goes on when you're wearing headphones. I just found super annoying. I just wanted to rip my headphones off. Like, stop it.
I never
It's like, I
noticed
guarantee
that.
you trees don't make that noise when in the wind. I grew up in the woods. I should know what trees sound like. But I mean, it was sort of a minor detail. Otherwise, and sometimes the terrain navigation can be a bit janky. Like you can't climb hills that are above a certain steepness, even though you probably could in real life. And then you slide all over the place and tumble, and it's kind of a mess. But and Roach. You can, no matter where you are, what you do, you can teleport him to you.
You just whistle and he appears
Like
50,
shadow
50
effects.
meters away.
Yeah, and then runs up to you. It's like, what is it? Okay, fine. But sometimes, depending on where you call him, he'll just end up in this really weird spot. And you have to try to get to him. It doesn't quite work, and he'll like glitch out a little bit. But yeah. Unity. What can we say about the Unity? It's a very coherent, cohesive experience, I'd say, overall.
It takes its source material and sticks to it. It doesn't try to be something more than that. Very Slavic sort of atmosphere.
I kind of prefer it to the TV show.
Yeah, the TV show was the atmosphere was not very well done, in my opinion. The story was well told and fairly faithful for the most part.
And the art and character design and all that was pretty good. And the acting was good for the most part. Kind of tried to be Game of Thrones and The Witcher, though. But
yeah,
that's kind of, well, The Witcher already had sort of that thing going on.
Except Game of Thrones has a lot more like of that bleakness, and it was trying to the TV show was trying to copy that.
Yeah,
sure.
Which I don't think it necessarily needed, but it was okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's all I have to say about that.
That's all I got. I would highly recommend that you play it.
Yeah.
All right. I'll bear that in mind.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
I guess, do we have any words of wisdom before we part ways?
I have no platitudes today.
No, I don't either. One of the characters, side characters in Skellige, is this man named Skjall, and sometimes some days that word will just be stuck in my head. Skjall, get over here, Skjall. What you doing, Skjall? It's just like, man, why? Something about that name is just like stuck in my brain like a piece of grass and molasses or something. I made that up, but but yeah. Like, share, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review or wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. If you're one of the 2 people who listens on Spotify.
One of the like 5-ish people.
Yeah. We appreciate it. Feel free to tweet at us or send us an email. We haven't gotten any emails, and
we're getting kind of lonely.
We're okay
over
with that.
here.
What's that?
Well, everybody is this time of
I mean, what is there to
history.
talk about? Like, every day is kind of the same.
Hey, you guys suck.
It's like, all right, fight me. But don't. We like you guys. So, yeah, thank you.
All 3 of you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more of this sort of shenanigans.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
Bye.